For updating resources, two options are available. The first one is put, which should be used for full updates. When issuing a put request, all fields of the resource should be overwritten or set to their default values. A put request to API/authors/ID would update the author with that ID. Important here is that the request payload must be a representation of the resource we want to update, so the author, but it must also include all fields. And it should include all fields. If a field is missing, that field's value should be put to its default value. As far as a response is concerned, the updated author or an empty response are both valid. But you don't always want to fully update a resource. In fact, more often than not, you will need partial updates to update only one or two fields instead of all of them. You can imagine the performance implications of having to send over tens of fields when you only want to update once. That's where patch comes in, used to partially update resources. The URI is the same as for put, but the request payload is somewhat special. It's a JSON patch document, essentially a set of changes that should be executed on that resource. Just as with put, the response payload can be the updated author or empty. It's the JSON patch standard that defines a JSON document structure for expressing a sequence of operations to apply to a JSON document. You can look at that as a change set of operations that will be applied to the resource a patch request with that JSON patch document in the body is sent to. The application /JSON patch plus JSON media type is used to identify such patch documents. Let's have a look at one. Imagine that this is a patch request to a specific course for an author. It starts with straight brackets, signifying an array. The array is a list of operations that has to be applied to the resource, which is our course. We see two operations in the example on screen. The first one is a replace operation, signified by OP, and value replace. Path defines the path to the property, title in this case. These are property names of the resource, which is signified by our DTO, and not on whatever lies beneath that layer. Value signifies the new value that should be given to the title property, new title. The second operation removes the description of a course. The operation is set to remove and the path is /description. There is no value because the property's value will be removed. In some dynamic systems, this means that the property itself will effectively be removed from the resource. But when working with DTO classes, removing translates to being put to its default value. Once this request is received, the API should apply it to the resource. Each operation is applied after the other one, and a request is only successful when all operations can be applied. There's 6 different operations possible. The add operation will add a property at a path location with a specific value, passed through via value. If it is used on a path that exists, the property value will be replaced. If it is used on an unexisting path, the property should be added to the resource. But something like that is typically only possible when working with dynamic resources, often in CRM-like systems. It's not applicable in our case, as we are currently working with statically typed classes. The remove operation will remove a property, or in non-dynamic cases, set it to its default value. It only has one property that has to be set next to the operation, path. Replace replaces the value at the specified path with the provided value. It's functionally the same as a remove operation followed by an add operation. Copy will take the value from the from property and copy it over to the path property. It is thus an add operation at the path location with the value specified in the from member. Move then will copy over the value at the from property to the path property and remove the value at the from property. This operation is functionally identical to a remove operation on the from location, followed by an add operation at the path location with the removed value. And lastly, tests that a value at the target location is equal to a specified value. Now, these cases are not limited to simple properties on a resource. You can manipulate array properties. You can access nested properties. You can even add a list of items to an array in one go. So, path doesn't have to be a simple property, and value doesn't have to be one string value. From these, it follows that patch is neither safe or idempotent. It changes resource representations, and as it can add to an array, sending it multiple times will have different outcomes. So it's something really powerful. The most important thing to remember is that a JSON patch document is essentially a list of operations that have to be applied to the resource, which thus allows for partial updates. In the upcoming demos, we will first inspect the existing put action, and afterwards we will implement support for patch.